Hello people, I'm Jim. In today's video, I'm going to break down the 5 worst buy-to-let investment areas in the UK in 2021. Generally, everywhere has done well over the last 12 months when it comes to property. The fact we've had a stamp duty holiday and super low interest rates for mortgages, coupled with the fact so many people have been re-evaluating where they live. We've seen lots of urban flight, which is when people move from big cities to rural areas. This is backed up by my research from Rightmove. In the summer of 2020, inquiries for city residents about village homes rose by 126%, with city dwellers in Liverpool, Edinburgh, Birmingham and London topping the list for wanting a more rural life. This certainly comes into play with the 5 cities we're going to talk about today. But if you want to know where the 5 hottest places to invest in the UK in 2020 are, please check out my video on the very subject. But in this video, when I talk about the worst 5 places, it is a relative term, as pretty much all of them have seen growth in their prices over the last 12 months and will probably be decent long-term bets for the future. But relative to some other areas in the UK, they've performed the worst. So in 5th place on the list we have Edinburgh. When it comes to the numbers for Edinburgh, the year-on-year percentage change in the average price up until April 2020 was 3.7%, and up until April 2021 it was 2.6%. To give you some context about how mental the market is at the moment, the year-on-year percentage change in the average house price for the UK up until April 2019 was 1.3%. So over the past 2 years, Edinburgh has beaten that, which just shows you how hot the whole market is, as this is the 5th worst performing city at the moment. Like mentioned earlier, Edinburgh will have felt the effect of people wanting to move out of cities during the lockdown, as we've become more used to remote working. The expensive house prices in cities seems unreasonable when the necessity to be close to a workplace is no longer there. The average house price in Edinburgh is currently £241,700. All of this information is taken from a monthly report which Zoopla publishes, which I will link in the description below. In 4th place on the list we have Oxford. Now Oxford is most well known for its world-class university. Importantly, over the last 12 months they have helped contribute to the development of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which has been massive in getting people vaccinated and getting the economy back open again. When it comes to the numbers for the performance in the property market, the year-on-year percentage change in the average house price until April 2020 was minus 0.2%, so a slight dip, whereas in April 2021 it was up 2%, with an average house price of £412,600. Next up on the list is London. London is often seen as a hub for the whole of the UK, being its biggest city with the biggest population, being a centre for both finance and business. But generally for most investors they get priced out of the market when it comes to London, with the average house price currently being £489,300. As someone who lives in the northwest, this absolutely blows my mind, as you could get a proper belter house round there for those sort of numbers. When it comes to the year-on-year percentage change in the average price up until April 2020 it increased 1.8%, and up until 2021 it was 2%. Out of all the cities in the UK, I think London has felt the effect of people leaving the big city to live in more affordable spaces where they have a better proximity to outdoor locations and a lower cost of living. Given the fact London is surrounded by so many of the UK's most beautiful national parks and rural locations such as Kent, Cotswolds, the Wessex Downs, and you're not too far from the coast either. This is something which I think during the first lockdown would have made people think long and hard, especially if you're stuck inside a 1-bedroom flat in the middle of London when you aren't allowed to go and see anyone. Data from Hart, an estate agent based in the UK, supports this, stating of its 4,247 prospective buyers' inquiries in Bedfordshire in 2020, 1 in 8 were from people living in London. In 2nd place on the list is Cambridge. Very similar to Oxford, it is well known for its world-class university, but with lots of university education going online in the last 12 months, it'll be interesting to see how all universities, but in particular these two, manage the shift into more remote learning. In terms of the numbers for Cambridge, the year-on-year percentage change in average house price was 2.1% up until April 2020 and was 1.9% up until 2021, with an average overall house price of £424,400. I still think overall Cambridge is a good long-term bet, as it's known for its research and development centres with links to lots of international businesses. So as more flights are allowed back into the UK, I'm sure Cambridge will continue to grow over the long term. It is also worth mentioning that Oxford, London and Cambridge have had some really good capital growth over the long term. Although they might not get the yields which properties in the north do, they have historically had some of the best capital growth in the whole of the country. Before I jump into which area is in first place on the list, it would massively help me out if you guys could subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow and reach more people. So hit the big red button and I'll crack on with the video. Finally, in first place, and according to Zoopla's House Price Index for April 2021, the worst performing city in the UK is Aberdeen, with the year-on-year percentage change in average house price up until April 2020 of -3%, and up until April 2021 being -1.7%, with an average house price of £144,100. This is one of the only places in the last 12 months in the UK to not get a year-on-year percentage increase. Aberdeen is an area which is so linked to the oil and gas industry, and the fortunes of the city will normally ebb and flow with the industry as a whole. Aberdeen was hit hard by the oil crash which happened in 2014, with a 70% price drop of oil between mid-2014 and early 2016. The fact on April 20th in 2020 the price of oil went negative for the first time ever will have had a massive impact for the city. I personally think the area might see a recovery as the economy starts to open back up and the pent-up demand for travelling and holidays comes back. Like I stated at the start of this video, pretty much everywhere is booming, but these cities are just the worst performing of all the cities in the UK. If you're interested to know why buying a house is so expensive at the moment, then please check out my video on the subject. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.